Are the Soundcore Liberty Air 2 Pro the best bang for your buck at their price point? What's the one hiccup in terms of sound quality that nobody else seems to be talking about? Well, stick around for the answers because I'm going to be rating these out of 10 on build, battery life, fit, microphone quality, functionality and sound quality before dropping my final score at the end. I'll throw affiliate links in the description below so you can check their price in real time. I bought these with my own money, so let's find out if they were worth the money or a waste of money. So let's get stuck in. Hey guys, it's Mark here. I just wanted to start this video by apologizing for the lack of uploads recently. To be honest, I just haven't been in the right headspace to make videos lately for many reasons you probably don't care about. But the good news is that you can expect regular uploads to resume from right now. So thank you for your patience and support as always. And let's kick off my return by diving straight into round one. In terms of build and design, these might just be Soundcore's best effort so far. Actually, I take that back. These are most definitely their best effort so far. Think of the case of the Liberty 2 Pros if it were far more compact and pocket friendly with 4 different colorways to choose from. That's these. I mean, first up, the case. It has the same sliding design that we saw on the Liberty 2 Pros, which I already liked, complete with an IPX4 water resistance rating and a matte plastic feel that offers decent grip and betters even some $300 true wireless earbuds. The buds are some of the best stem design earbuds I've ever tested, effectively being almost identical to AirPods Pro in terms of size, weight and shape, but just with longer stems. I'm not going to hype this up any more than I already just did, so they get a well-deserved 9 out of 10 from me. Granted, they lose a point for not being quite as compact as their predecessor, which also had an IPX5 rating, but other than that, it's very hard to pick fault here. When it comes to battery life, Soundcore promise 7 hours playback in a single listening session and 26 hours total when you factor in the charging case. That's actually less than the original Liberty Air 2 by 2 hours, but also not a huge deal considering we've also got ANC here, which can be a notorious battery drain. However, during my real-world testing, I discovered that the figures Soundcore provided are most definitely with ANC off. In reality, I only managed to achieve just over 3.5 hours playback in a single sitting and a pretty poor 11 hours of battery life in total with ANC on. That is phenomenally lower than almost all other ANC earbuds I've tested, meaning they get insta-slapped with a 4 out of 10 for battery life. Honestly, it's some of the poorest test figures I've seen in a long time when it comes to battery life, and not even their quick charging speeds or wireless charging can save them here. Fortunately, things start to look up when it comes to fit and comfort, with the Pros being far more comfortable and secure than when compared to the original Liberty Air 2, and here's why. You'll notice that on the Pros, the silicone tip butts up right against the body of the bud, whereas on the older model, the silicone tip is actually extended away from the body of the buds by a pretty decent margin. So not surprisingly, with the older model, this means that they sit far more out of your ears with little support, whereas the Pros sit completely in your ears where they're far less likely to wiggle free. So that's going to be a 9 out of 10 for fit. They're incredibly secure, and yes, I can definitely recommend them for light to moderate workouts. They also happen to exert a lot less pressure around your ear canals, with no signs of ear fatigue setting in until at least the 2-hour mark. So here's a microphone test of the Soundcore Liberty Air 2 Pro. Is the microphone quality pro? You guys let me know in the comments. I'm not so sure, I haven't heard good things about it, but I won't be able to let you guys know till I get back to the studio and have a listen. But next we're going to listen to the original Liberty Air 2s to see if they're better or worse. So let's do that right now. And here's the Soundcore Liberty Air 2. What do you think? Do they sound better? Do they sound worse? I'll let you be the judge until I give you my final take in just a sec. So let's head back. I'll do exactly that. I hadn't heard good things about the Liberty Air 2 Pro's microphone quality, but I think that test just put things to bed. They definitely sounded better than the original Liberty Air 2s, which had clear voice capture, and the Pros don't. So that's a kind of surprising revelation, but I had updated them to the latest firmware, so potentially the Pros could have received some improvement in that department. But either way, I am happy to drop a 9 out of 10 for mic quality, because true wireless earbuds have a pretty bad reputation for mic quality, and these definitely are not deserving of that bad reputation. When it comes to functionality, there's good news and there's bad news, so let's start with the bad first. We've got Bluetooth 5.0 here, which is fine, that's definitely not a bad thing, though I have started to see a lot of budget buds sporting Bluetooth 5.2. So why should you care? Well, 5.2 offers a stronger, more stable connection and crucially more efficient power consumption, which clearly the Pros desperately needed. The original Liberty Air 2s also supported aptX, but sadly we've lost that on the Pros, meaning anyone with an Android device looking to stream higher quality audio files will have to look elsewhere. aptX could have also resulted in a much needed improvement in power efficiency, as well as reduced audiovisual lag as a bonus. Fortunately for the Pros, audiovisual lag is next to none on YouTube and Netflix as they compensate for that delay. But for anything else like smartphone gaming, the delay is pretty savage compared to budget options out there that have low latency gaming modes hardwired. There's no multi-point pairing here either, but to be honest, I wouldn't really expect to see it at this price point anyway, so no points lost there. Now the bad news is out of the way, it's time for the good news. And firstly, yes, you can use either earbud in mono mode, which isn't always a given. But get this, the real icing on the cake here, as with almost all Soundcore products, is the companion app. For starters, it instantly gives you the gift of customizable touch controls, and yes, you can then set volume controls to be able to be used on the buds themselves, which aren't enabled by default. You can also toggle auto pause and play, ensuring playback stops and resumes as you either remove or place the earbuds into your ear. You can toggle between all the ANC levels in multiple increments using the custom ANC wheel, as well of course toggling transparency mode as well. But best of all, you've got a full parametric equalizer, so you can fully customize the sound signature to your own personal taste. And of course, there are presets available as well. Seriously, this is app functionality I'd only expect to see in high-end true wireless earbuds, anywhere from $250 to $300 and upwards. And without a doubt, nobody pulls this off better than Soundcore. The ANC performance here is seriously good and potentially the best I've heard out of any budget ANC earbuds to date. I would, however, need to test these a little bit further, test them and compare them to other budget models before I could personally rank them as number one over those that came before them, but I will keep you guys updated on that in a future video. Overall, there were a few bumps in the road, but to be honest, the Soundcore companion app just absolutely dominates here. So I'm going to give these an 8 out of 10 for usability and functionality. If it wasn't for the lack of future-proofing with Bluetooth 5.0 and no aptX codec, I'd definitely be happy to drop full marks here, as what more could you really want from a pair of budget buds in 2021? Okay, it's time for the final and most important round, sound quality. But before we get to that, make sure you're following me on my personal Instagram and Twitter. I've been a little bit quiet over there, but I'm starting to get back into it. I'll throw links to those in the description below. Make sure you're subscribed. Come on, this is common knowledge. And comment below what you want me to review next, as my review schedule is looking a little bit sparse at the moment. But either way, brace yourselves, because we're going to dive into sound quality. First of all, let me just clear up something that I've had a lot of you guys message me about already. No, there is no audio hiss here like I rather infamously experienced with the Liberty 2 Pro. However, there is some extremely minor audio static, sometimes in the left or the right earbud, but to be honest, that is me being pretty nitpicky, and unless playback is almost completely silent in a track, or there's silence between tracks changing, you'd never really stand a chance of hearing it, and at least 70% of budget buds do have some sort of mild static to them to some degree. Okay, so now that's out of the way, how's the sound signature? We've got a V-shaped sound signature here, which isn't at all surprising from Soundcore or any other budget buds for that matter. Bass is emphasized, giving excellent thump and rumble, just rolling off before things get too boomy. Mids are pretty flat and true to life, though with emphasized bass and emphasized treble at play, that does mean that vocals do become a little bit pushed back in the mix. Treble is just okay, it can be a little bit thin, louder than vocals, and it makes the sound signature a little bit too aggressively V-shaped for my ears. But of course, this isn't a huge deal breaker. I've already tweaked the sound signature in the Soundcore app to better suit the genres I listen to on the regular. In short, they sound better than almost all other buds under $100 straight off the bat. Let's get that straight first, especially with custom equalizer settings in play. However, I did say in the intro that there was a hiccup nobody was talking about, so here it is. There is a noticeable shift in sound signature whether you have ANC on or ANC off. The sound signature I just described is with ANC on, and that description just goes completely out of the window when ANC is switched off. Now, there is one positive thing about this shift, and that's that mids instantly become more present, and vocalists no longer sound like they need to take one step closer to the mic. But that treble, which was already way too pushed forwards for my liking, becomes even more so, to the point where it begins to lack detail and even verges on becoming unpleasant, especially when you crank that volume up. Bass goes from being full-bodied and just about verging on boomy but not quite making it, to being boomy, completely losing that full-bodied low rumble as well in the process. I mean, it's like comparing the sound signature of two totally different pairs of buds, whether you have ANC on or off. However, I will say that the difference is more pronounced in some tracks than others, depending on what musical elements are in play. For example, it's less noticeable in tracks which never had much bass to start with, and of course, it's very likely that your average consumer probably won't even notice or care about the shift whatsoever. So, is this really such a big deal, or is it me being nitpicky? Especially when you can just adjust the equalizer settings to compensate for that treble boosted, boomy, ANC off sound signature. Of course, it's not a big deal if you don't notice it, but for me, it's always bad when ANC affects the sound profile of a pair of buds, simply because you want to toggle ANC purely depending on whether you need ANC or not, whether you need the function in a practical sense, not because one sounds better than the other. Plus, I don't really feel like I should have to switch up the custom equalizer presets every time I toggle ANC on or off, because that's not convenient, it's just annoying. Otherwise, soundstage and clarity is some of the best I've heard around this price. Still nothing compared to a pair of over-ear headphones, of course, but certainly better than almost all competitor options out there. Like most budget earbuds, clarity isn't great at higher volumes, but with these it's not great, and they definitely have a sweet spot at about 60% volume. Anything above this, treble becomes quite harsh, especially with ANC off, but with ANC on I can stretch to about 70% before the treble becomes a little bit unpleasant. I'm reluctantly going to have to drop a 6 out of 10 here for sound quality, as the sound profile with ANC off is genuinely inferior unless you tweak the equalizer settings every time you use it, which I certainly don't intend on doing. It makes me pretty sad to drop a low score like this. Okay, it's not that low, but with ANC on and custom equalizer settings, I would have happily given these even an 8 or 9 out of 10. But given how weak the battery life figures already are in the Pros, it only makes matters worse that ANC on is where their best performance lies, as that's also where their battery life drains more than twice as fast. Overall, the Soundcore Liberty Air 2 Pro scored a 45 out of 60, which is a 7.5 out of 10, which is actually pretty high in terms of the average scores that I give out. The cons are exceptionally weak battery life with ANC on, and a noticeable shift in sound signature with ANC on or off. Unfortunately, two of those cons are huge deal breakers for me, especially since a consistent sound signature with ANC off would help massively when it comes to managing and preserving that already short battery life. So, are they worth your hard-earned cash? Well, unfortunately, two of those cons are huge deal breakers for me personally, especially since a consistent sound signature with ANC off would help massively when it comes to managing and preserving that already short battery life. As much as I wish I could recommend these to you, I just can't when the Jabra 75T are the exact same price as these, and the Sony XM3 buds only cost $20 more. So not surprisingly, I would highly recommend that you check out my full review of the Sony XM3 buds next by clicking here, or you can check out the top 5 best budget true wireless earbuds at the time of recording this video by clicking here. So pick one of those and I will see you in the next video.